What makes one Christmas rise above all the others and settle forever in the heart? When Song Hye Kyo quietly said that this would be their most emotional Christmas ever, the words carried a weight that could not be reduced to celebration alone. They sounded less like an announcement and more like a reflection. A realization spoken softly, shaped by a year that had changed everything. Right now, right before the next revelation, is your chance to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another powerful story, another shocking twist, or another unforgettable journey. This was not the kind of emotion born from spectacle or surprise. It was deeper, accumulative, the kind that builds slowly, moment by moment, until one day you look around and understand that life is no longer what it used to be. For Song Hye Kyo, Christmas had always been a season of contemplation, a time when memories surface easily and silence feels louder than usual. But this year, emotion arrived from a different place. Not from what was missing, but from what had arrived. And there was so much of it. The days leading up to Christmas moved with a strange duality. On the surface, everything looked familiar. Decorations appeared. Music filled the background. Schedules slowed. But beneath that familiarity, something profound was unfolding. A sense that this holiday was no longer about revisiting the past, but about standing firmly in the present. This Christmas carried layers. It held gratitude for survival, awe for transformation, tenderness for moments that felt fragile precisely because they mattered so much. Song Hye Kyo's words reflected not sadness, but fullness. The kind of emotional weight that comes when the heart is stretched in new directions. Lee Min-ho felt it too. Those close to them noticed a quiet intensity in the way he approached the season. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just deeply attentive. Every choice felt intentional, as if he understood that this Christmas would be remembered not for what they did, but for how it felt. The emotion was woven into the ordinary. Morning light felt heavier. Conversations lingered longer. Pauses carried meaning instead of discomfort. Even the simplest routines seemed to hold a quiet reverence, as if everyone involved sensed that something sacred was taking place. For Song Hye Kyo, emotions surfaced unexpectedly. In moments of stillness. In watching familiar spaces transformed by new energy. In realizing how much had changed without any single moment announcing it. Life had shifted gently, then all at once. This was not an emotional Christmas because of one defining event. It was emotional because of accumulation, because of resilience, because of growth that had been earned rather than imagined. There were moments of reflection too. Christmas has a way of inviting memory, and this year, memories arrived with clarity rather than ache. The past was acknowledged, not mourned. The journey honored, not questioned. Emotion came not from regret, but from perspective. That is what made it powerful. Song Hye Kyo's voice, when she spoke about this Christmas, carried calm instead of overwhelm. Emotion, yes, but also steadiness. The kind that comes from knowing exactly where you are, even if you cannot fully explain how you arrived there. This was a Christmas defined by connection. Connection not just between people, but between past and present, between expectation and reality, between who they were and who they had become. It was a season where nothing needed to be proven, only felt. As the holiday approached, there was no rush to amplify the moment. No need to turn emotion into performance. The significance lived quietly in shared glances, in unspoken understanding, in the knowledge that this chapter was real and irreversible. And perhaps that is why Song Hye Kyo called it their most emotional Christmas ever. Because emotion does not always come from intensity. Sometimes it comes from truth. From standing inside a life you recognize as your own. From realizing that joy and responsibility can coexist, that peace can be deeply moving, that love can feel overwhelming simply because it is finally grounded. When Christmas arrived, it did not demand attention. It arrived gently, and in that gentleness, it revealed everything. And as Christmas drew closer, the emotion Song Hye Kyo spoke of began to take shape in ways that were impossible to ignore. It surfaced in the quiet moments before sleep, when the house finally settled and the noise of the world fell away. In those hours, reflection came easily. Not the restless kind, but the kind that feels honest. The kind that allows gratitude and vulnerability to exist side by side. This was a Christmas shaped by awareness. Awareness of how much had changed in a single year. Awareness of how fragile and extraordinary life can be. Awareness that joy, when it arrives after struggle, carries a different weight. A deeper resonance. One that lingers. Song Hye Kyo did not describe this Christmas as emotional because it was overwhelming. She described it that way because it was complete, because it held everything at once. The past that had shaped her, the present that demanded her full attention, the future that now felt both beautiful and daunting in equal measure. Lee Min-ho sensed this complexity without it ever needing to be spoken aloud. Those around them noticed how often he paused, how carefully he moved through the days leading up to Christmas. As if he understood that this season was not just a celebration, but a threshold. A moment where everything converged. Where joy was inseparable from responsibility and happiness carried echoes of awe. The emotion lived in anticipation. Not of gifts or gatherings, but of moments. Of mornings yet to come. Of traditions being formed quietly, almost unconsciously. Of realizing that Christmas would never again be what it once was, and that this was not a loss, but a transformation. For Song Hye Kyo, that realization was profound. There is a certain tenderness that comes with firsts. First traditions. First routines. First holidays that redefine what home means. This Christmas did not feel borrowed or temporary. It felt rooted, anchored in something enduring. And that is where the emotion deepened. It was felt in the way she watched the day unfold, aware that she was not just experiencing a holiday, but witnessing the beginning of a new rhythm of life. One that would repeat and evolve, year after year, long after this moment had passed. Christmas has a way of amplifying truth. And the truth this year was undeniable. Life had expanded. Love had multiplied. Responsibility had taken on a new dimension. The emotion was not fleeting. It was structural. It altered how everything else was perceived. Even celebration itself felt different. There was less urgency, more meaning. Less performance, more presence. The season did not need to be filled. It was already full. As Christmas finally arrived, it did so with a quiet certainty. No dramatic arrival. No overwhelming crescendo. Just a sense of rightness. Of alignment. Of being exactly where they were meant to be. Song Hye Kyo's words echoed, not as a headline, but as a truth lived moment by moment. This was their most emotional Christmas ever because it asked them to feel everything. To hold joy without fear. To acknowledge change without resistance. To step forward without needing to see the entire path ahead. And in that emotional honesty, there was peace. The kind of peace that does not erase feeling, but deepens it. The kind that allows tears and laughter to coexist. The kind that turns a single holiday into a lasting memory. When the season eventually faded and the decorations were put away, the emotion did not disappear with them. It remained quietly woven into daily life, into routines, into glances, into the understanding that something fundamental had shifted. Because some Christmases do not simply pass. They become part of who you are. And this one, by every measure that mattered, already had.